This is TEDxDOZ with me. Title of my presentation is Perspectives. And basically I'm going to be talking about life and keeping your life in perspective. I do have a disclaimer. You're going to notice a lot of things that are similar to last week's. You might have noticed that hate note last week about Steiner's presentation. So I kind of had to scrap a good portion of mine and rebuild it, but you will notice a lot of similar things. Disclaimer number 2. Deal with it. This is my presentation. What's up?
Yeah, horses.
So yeah, my presentation. So I'm gonna do that. Okay. So really quickly, it's suddenly darkening, but that's fine.
Higher.
So we're gonna talk a little about evolution. I can't see anything right now, but I can see hands. So raise your hand and someone tell me who the most advanced species on Earth is.
Humans.
D block. What's up? Dolphins?
D block is
yeah,
the most.
dolphins.
Bonobos.
Bonobos.
Narwhals.
Narwhals. There's kind of a. I'm trying to lead you to an answer here. And that answer is on the screen. Humans. Thank you. We got humans. Well, yeah, but we'll move on. So the reasons for these are some things that define traditionally what an advanced species is. It's complexity, it's derivation, which means it's been farthest derived from our closest common ancestor, which for all animals would be like a single-celled organism. Competition, thriving in that, and versatility, being able to live in a bunch of different environments. So I guess humans, bonobos, dolphins kind of qualify for parts of that, but I'm going with humans. And I'm going to say that's all great, but that's only correct in context. Humans are not actually the most advanced species because take a human, put him in the middle of the ocean, and all of a sudden you can't survive. So I have this little picture. It's a picture. It looks kind of humanish, but basically it's just to show that put in the water, humans are just like little naked apes. On the flip side, sharks are considered to be the most advanced, like most predative species in the water. This is a picture of a shark, the great white to be specific. But then again, out of context on the beach, not so much. That is not a great white, but it's a shark. You can find a beach great white, okay? Let's see. So basically, humans are not the most advanced species. If you think about it, all species evolved at the same time. We've had the same amount of time. Like apes are not less evolved than us. They've had the exact same time to evolve. They're just different. They haven't fulfilled the same niche as we have. So that's basically what humans have been really good at, kind of growing their niche and then making it, out-competing all the other species. And then humans also focus, like, during evolution, I mean, it's random, but the focus of humans, if you look back, has been 2 things. It's been the versatility of the brain, which allows us to have higher thought processes, and then it's also been, whoops, wrong way. And it's also been sociability, so empathy, etc. And this gives pros like tools. We can survive in different environments. We can go to like Antarctica and hunt seals. I know we're not supposed to, but we can live in the Antarctic, and then we can come to like the desert and then hunt rattlesnakes, and we can like make different tools to accomplish these tasks, foraging, etc. But the cons of that is every new generation has to start from scratch. There's no hardwiring. Like cockroaches, crocodiles, when they're born, they already know everything that they need to know to survive. Humans, it takes about 16 years to physically mature. Emotionally is a whole other story. So going back to complexity and derivation, humans are complex, but it's not necessarily a good thing, and same with derivation. Speaking specifically on derivation, avia, that's the Latin name for birds or aves, are just as derived as us, so in that respect you could question whether birds are as evolved as us or not. And with complexity, it also means dependency on smaller life forms. There's a lot of things we can't accomplish, like photosynthesis. We can't just lie in the sun and get our energy. We have to actually eat things. And then on the flip side, let's go to there. So that's with human evolution. But now let's take a step back and talk about what would have happened if humans weren't the ones to take over the world. If a meteor never came, we have D-Block right up there. It's actually that's the smartest dinosaur that has been discovered so far. It's called Troodon. And it wasn't really that smart, but for its time, it was basically, it had a tennis ball sized brain compared to the average walnut sized brain. But compared to the humans, or early humans, which were synapsids, because mammals didn't really exist then, but synapsids had like tiny brains, and these guys were basically king. If a meteor had never come, eventually, according to some scientists, these reptiles would have become the dominant force. They would have gained the ability to think and create tools like we did. They would have actually turned out looking a little similar to humans with their shoulders. Their heads would have grown for the sizes of the brains. It would become more rounded like ours, because that's the best way to get surface area versus just volume, yes. And then their shoulders would have broadened, kind of like ours. And this is a picture of what someone thinks they might have looked like. They would have big eyes, and et cetera, et cetera. And then there's a really interesting sci-fi book called West of Eden by Harry Harrison. Basically, this book it's sci-fi, but it's like dinosaurs were the ones that were in power or whatever. They're the dominant species, except for in the Americas, where they for some reason became extinct, and there's humans, and it's a weird, interesting little thing. And then there's a quote from Playboy at the bottom. But talking about present human, the way it is right now, if we continue, this is what some people think may result. I mean, obviously not a pig, but we're kind of devolving, as some people say, which is technically not a term, because you're still evolving into something, but we're adapting into less physically fit humans. Otherwise, some people think we'll eventually end up being completely cybernetic, Terminator, whatever, etc. Other options are, there's some people who think humans will eventually split into two different species. One that is the beautiful elite, and then another species that is just kind of impish and not as smart, just ogres or whatever. And then there's other people just after that who think everyone will end up like this, with pollution. It's just kind of disgusting what some of these people think of. But you'll notice some of the interesting things. I'll read it out. Enlarged testicles, expanded buttocks, yes. Interesting thing in the top right corner is the multi-filtered respiratory system. Multi-filtered respiratory system has to do with pollution and all that. We'll eventually get used to that, etc. Sorry, is that too loud?
No, I like it.
As the 21st century began, human evolution was at a turning point. Natural selection.
Bummer.
The process by which the strongest, the smartest, the fastest reproduced in greater numbers than the rest. A process which had once favored the noblest traits of man now began to favor different traits. Most science fiction of the day predicted a future that was more civilized and more intelligent. But as time went on, things seemed to be heading in the opposite direction, a dumbing down. How did this happen? Evolution does not necessarily reward intelligence. With no natural predators to thin the herd, it began to simply reward those who reproduced the most and left the intelligent to become an endangered species.
Having kids is such an important decision.
We're just waiting for the right time. It's not something you want to rush into, obviously.
No way.
Oh shit, I'm pregnant again!
I got too many damn kids. Thought you was on the pill or some shit.
Hell no! way we could have a child now. Not with the market the way it is now.
No, that just wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, well, there must be something he likes over here.
Well, we finally decided to have children, and I'm not pointing fingers, but it's not going well.
And this is helping.
I'm just saying that before I have in vitro, maybe you should be willing to...
It's always me, right?
Well, it's not my sperm count.
Cleavon is lucky to be alive. He attempted to jump a jet ski from a lake into a swimming pool and impaled his crotch on an iron gate. But thanks to recent advances in stem cell research and the fine work of Drs. Krensky and Altschuler, Cleavon should regain full reproductive function.
Unfortunately, Trevor passed away from a heart attack while masturbating to produce sperm for artificial insemination. But I have some eggs frozen, so just as soon as the right guy comes along.
And so it went for generations, although few, if any, seemed to notice. But in the year 2005,
That's basically the end of it, so. So that's actually the beginning of a movie called Idiocracy from 2004. It is a really funny movie, and it's not like a mockumentary or anything. It's just, it's about this guy that like gets frozen for like 1,000 years or 500 years or something, and then he becomes the smartest person in the world because everyone else is like just basically retarded. Like, sorry, that's not PC, but so this is what happens on Earth in the future of Earth, etc. But let's see where the Earth is in perspective, and this is where it gets a little familiar. That is the Earth size in relation to the other planets. You can see Mars, Mercury, Pluto, Venus. You step back a little, and you'll see the Earth in relation to the size of Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, and Jupiter. And then right here in the middle is actually that top left corner with the box in it. As a satellite called, I have no idea how to pronounce it, it's Huygens, Huygens or something. It was as it was passing the rings of Saturn, it took a picture facing the Earth, and that is the Earth, the little dot. Then you move on, you can see the picture. The Earth is not even visible at this point. Saturn is tiny, that's the sun. Just take a step further away. You'll see our sun in relation to Sirius, Pollux, and Arcturus. Take a step farther away. You'll see Betelgeuse and Antares. At this point, the sun is pretty minuscule. Take a step farther away, and you'll see the biggest one that I have right now. It's Canis Majoris, which is just gigantic. So basically, I just want to kind of say, like, you have all this stress that you deal with on a daily basis, but really when you put in perspective of the entire universe, it's really minuscule, so you should kind of focus on your passions and what you want to do and not worry about everything else that comes in the way. So that's why I'm going to talk about my passions at this point and how this relates to me. A lot of people have stress anxiety, I cover that. Basically, it's not worth it. These are my passions: film, martial arts, music, design, science, storytelling, deception, and philosophy. Moving on, this is a little film I made a couple of years ago. It's called Le Bouton Rouge. For those who don't know French, it means the red button. And if you can figure out what's going on in this film, I won't pay you money, but I'll give you a high five or something.